What's going on, sports card hobby family? It is another day. It is another sports card video back again. We are going to talk NFL football cards today. We've got 5 QBs and their cards that we are going to look at and look at some price movement and what do we think about it. Also, a Panini Fanatics Topps football card update that we will hit on at the end of the video, so stay tuned for that. Huge thank you to today's video sponsor, DC Sports 87. You might have cards that you want to sell on eBay, but man, you do not feel like packaging it up, dealing with returns, all of the this and the that. When you're trying to sell cards, you can easily send it off to DC Sports 87. Everything updates on their website in real time as far as auctions ending and payments, and it's only 1 business day for it to turn around to get your payment. So very efficient show over there at DC Sports 87. Make sure to check them out. All right, football season is upon us, my friends. My New Orleans Saints started off pretty good, and then the last couple weeks, everything has fallen apart. Offensively, looking terrible. Offensive coordinator probably needs to go, but we will see what happens. We've got the Patriots in Foxborough this week, which they got absolutely smacked by the Cowboys, which doesn't make me feel very good because I think Belichick is going to be ready this week, and it's going to be tough for an already struggling offensive unit. Hopefully we can get something done in Foxborough. But let's not talk about my Saints. Let's talk about 5 hot quarterbacks. Derek Carr is not one of them. The first one we're going to talk about is the 4-0 Philadelphia Eagles, Jaylen Herz. We're going to be looking at silver prisms today using market movers. Silver prisms just kind of easy to be able to compare across different cards. It's in different players. It just makes it easy. Yes, we could go with a bunch of different parallels and things, but trying to get apples to apples can be tricky. Even though there is a lot of nuance here between the years of prism and print runs and that sort of thing, at least gives us a shot at it. So let's take a look at this thing. All right, so Jaylen Herz, PSA 10, Prism Silver, population so far, 255. Currently, the card sells for about $800, $810 sale recently. It popped up over $1,200 in August, which is pretty typical for preseason football. We see that pretty common. It has now come back down to earth to right about summer prices, so kind of in that $800 range. So you did see that preseason pop up where it moved up pretty nicely, but it has settled back down to really where it was, which is interesting when you think about Hertz just playing well, and also the fact the Eagles are 4-0 and just rolling along. So it's not as if anything has happened here that would show that, Hertz isn't playing well, he got hurt or whatever. No, I mean, everything's kind of moving along the same way as it was last year, but just flat price point. And the one thing I think is kind of interesting is we always talk about an overreactive sports card hobby where guy has a good game or a good few weeks and all of a sudden card prices start rising. We will talk about one guy where that's the case, but I think there's reason for it. Whereas with some of these guys, you can just tell that maybe it was already priced in to some degree. And it's kind of showing here with Jaylen Herz, where you have a guy that's really playing well, team playing well, not a whole lot of movement on that particular card, which is different from years past. All right, next let's talk about probably the best football player in the NFL, Patrick Mahomes' 2017 Prism rookie card. They're all silvers in 2017. PSA 10 Pop Report sits at 927, so quite a few more of those. Obviously, the card's been around an extra 3 years over the 2020 product, but we've got almost 4 times as many PSA 10s for Mahomes than we do with Hertz and some of these others as it sits. So right now, Mahomes, $3,500 currently is about the asking price for the PSA 10. And it has been really flat since about June of 2022. So you're going back over a year. We're talking a year and 3 or 4 months. This is basically where this card has sat. And this is a team that won the Super Bowl last year. And Mahomes hasn't looked amazing to start this season, but they're 3-1. I mean, the Chiefs dropped that first game to the Lions by 1 point at the end, and they haven't lost since. They're 3-1. They're kind of rolling along. Travis Kelce's got all the Swifties. I don't know what's going on there, but everything is humming along in Chiefs Nation, and Mahomes isn't showing any sign of slowing down. But I guess it just kind of shows you there that, again, baked in, even though he had won a second Super Bowl and really shown that he is the best player in the NFL with his sidearm throws and all the gadget stuff that he does, still a little flat, which to me it's a little surprising, just thinking that this guy really has kind of entrenched himself, barring injury, of course, as really kind of the main guy. He is the main guy in the NFL in terms of accomplishments, so far in his early career. So that's where that one sits for now. Next up, we've got Josh Allen. This one's kind of an outlier because it's 2018 Prism Silver, which, as many of us know, that is a year where Prism Silvers were actually short printed to some degree. We don't have an exact print run. They're not numbered, but it's a reason why the Tom Brady version of this card goes for so much more than other years, other players, etc. So this is a Pop 26 for a PSA 10. Josh Allen, rookie card, Prism Silver from 2018. Beautiful card. I love the 2018 design. It sits at right at the same price as Mahomes, $3,600, $3,500, $3,600. Very similar to the pricing where it was in 2020 and early 2021. Of course, it did pop up and as we kind of got into 2021, but the price is kind of hung along there. It went shot up, of course, like a lot of things did, and then it's come back down and settled in kind of into that early, kind of that 2020 price point. But there's only 26. Population 26, which I think keeps the price point elevated here because it's just not going to sell as much. You're thinking like 26, and then Mahomes has 920, and then Jaylen Herz has 250. Like, this is a dramatic difference when we're talking about the population for a PSA 10 Josh Allen rookie card. The Bills are 3-1. Josh Allen still, to me, is kind of that guy that makes the big mistake at the wrong times. He's an awesome player to watch, but he also fumbles. He throws weird picks sometimes. He's just not quite as polished and consistent as a Patrick Mahomes, for example, but he is showing that he is still an elite quarterback in the NFL. He's not going anywhere in that vaunted AFC. Next up, we got a guy that's really kind of a comeback kid here. It is Tua down there in Miami. 2020 Prism Silver PSA 10. The population currently sits at 175 in a PSA 10. It now sits at $950 for Tua Silver Prism. It has moved up. So this is a card that has moved up here over the last few weeks. The Dolphins are 3-1 and what dropped 70 points last week. They did lose to the Bills this past weekend, but a couple weeks ago, the Dolphins showed their offensive might, and they show you what is possible. Tua has really played very, very well. So his prices, of course, are really similar to 2021, 2022 spec pricing because last year, of course, he had concussion issues. His prices dipped quite a bit. So really, his ascension, his price movement upward is just kind of catching up to where the spec money was if we go back, about a year and a half ago or so. But it'll be really interesting to see kind of what happens with Tua, if it continues to move up, if the Dolphins have success, or if it flattens out, what happens there with Tua pricing. All right, so the last player we're going to look at is a guy that is my starting fantasy quarterback, not anymore. I've had to shuffle around. Joe Burrow having a big-time struggle with that calf injury. He's just not looking like himself. The Bengals starting out at 1-3. And his 2020 Prism Silver, population 238, very similar to the Jaylen Herz card from the same set, now sits at $1,900. So isn't that kind of funny? Joe Burrow sitting at $1,900. Jaylen Herz sits at $800 currently for basically the same card. It's a Prism Silver, just about the same population for a PSA 10. So this is similar to September, October, November of 2022, which is interesting because we're going back about 1 year. And this is basically where prices have sat. So the prices haven't suffered on this yet. And so you haven't really seen a big overreaction from Burrow holders. It's either one or the other. It's either, hey, they've got money into these cards and they just don't want to sell at a loss maybe, or sell kind of even. Or, they're a long-term holder for Burrow and they're like, you know what? Yeah, he's fighting an injury, but I'm not selling off, through his injury time. He's going to bounce back. The Bengals will kind of make a run here at the end. Last year, they started 0-2 and then rebounded quite nicely. So there might just be a belief like, hey, look, it's not the time to sell Burrow cards, which frankly, it probably isn't just because he's struggling, but we will have to see what happens there. There hasn't been a rush to the bottom on Joe Burrow stuff from what we've seen so far, even though the Bengals are 1-3 and really haven't shown a lot of signs. Burrow is having a rough start to the season. So we'll have to pay attention to that closely. All right. So the last part of the video, we had a little bit of an announcement, a press release came out from the NFLPA. So the NFLPA kind of admits, hey, here, we kind of lost this mini battle here as far as stopping Panini from selling product. But what they did say here is that they are moving ahead with Fanatics, which essentially is Topps. And it just makes me think, we are probably going to see Topps Chrome product or Topps football product is going to come. And the NFLPA was kind of like, All right, well, I guess we're just going to roll with what we've got. This year, we'll have both companies putting out product, which is interesting because, of course, these are exclusive deals and so forth. And so right now, it's a lot of just speculation type stuff until we get more of an actual order. We get some more kind of details from the court. Paul Lesko threw in his 2 cents on it, but it was kind of more of like a what's going on kind of reaction from Lesko. So I'm sure over the next few days, early next week, we'll have more answers on this. But to me, this just screams to me, hey, Topps Chrome football is coming, or at least Topps football products are going to be moving ahead. The NFLPA is ready to move ahead with those guys. They did say, though, too, hey, look, to athletes, if you've got obligations with Panini, make sure that you fulfill those obligations. So kind of towing the line there. But they've got to, hey, reach out to our, athlete service, our customer service here at Fanatics, to help with your future, your current and future needs for trading cards. Very interesting. It's kind of a weird statement there that came out without any real answers, dancing around stuff. But I'm sure there will be more to come on that front. All right, guys, stay healthy, stay awesome, and I will talk to you again later.